Hello everybody and welcome back to a new coloring adventure with CLAldridge Art. For those of you who do not know me, my name, hello, is Christine Aldridge and I am an artist. I do draw coloring books for a living and this is one of my drawings. However, I did not color it. This is the most amazing Happy Mail that I have received. Now, I did know it was coming, and I did see her feature this on her Monday show 2 weeks ago. And this was colored. This is from my book, Flowers and Flyers. And this was colored by the absolutely astoundingly wonderful Dee Willingham. And she has matted it and sent it to me, sent me the original. And I am just so thrilled, you guys, to have it. And look at how beautiful she has colored this. She did this with just 3 colors, the blues, the yellow, and of course the greens, and a little tiny bit of white Posca. And it really just goes to show how powerfully used a limited color palette can be when well used. Sorry. How powerful a limited color palette can be when well used. Incorporating the white, of the paper. I love that she matted it to this piece of black construction paper, and it is just absolutely gorgeous. Look at that. And now I can say that one of my drawings has been colored by Dee Willingham. I am absolutely thrilled. And of course she sent it in a lovely envelope with a nice stiffener to keep them from bending it. And so needless to say, this one is for my box of treasures. However, I suspect that it will soon be framed and on the wall here in my studio. And look, she even signed it. I'm just, oh my goodness. This just made my day. It arrived on Monday this week, and it is just gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. So thank you to Dee Willingham for coloring a page from my book. And this is, what we're gonna work on today is, I'm gonna finish this one up using the Deli pencils. But I finished this last night, and if you've been following my channel at all, you know that this is the picture that I've been coloring in the last 2 live streams. I did the majority of it with Derwent Inkpens, and then I just used, since I had them out, I used the Deli pencils to do just a little bit of extra contrast work, and that's what I wanted to show you. So I'm going to zoom in to where you can see it, and you see I used really dark colors to add, like this is the darkest pencil short of the black that's in the box, and I used it to add the little extra around. I mean, I used a blue pencil too, but this one is a purple base, and so I used the blue and this together to do the little shadows underneath the leaves, between the leaves, to add some darkness to this flower over here. I used it again with the more purple color to get this highlight or contrast under here between leaves, to get it in here in the little where the darkest places, where the sun wouldn't shine. It is those little tiny contrast details that really pop a picture up off the page. I also just used like a light greenish aqua blue and just put in a little bit of color in the white spaces, sort of brought it around like it was a frame. And then I did darken up some areas of the butterflies, and I used my CLAart markers to add, alcohol markers, to add the detail on the butterfly wings for the dots. And so I am really thrilled with the way that this one turned out overall. I will be posting this to Instagram later today. By the time that you see this, it will quite likely be Thursday afternoon. I'm going to be posting it for a Thursday release, but I want to do it after Sandy at Color Creatively has streamed, because I want you guys to watch her channel and not be watching this when she goes live. So anyway, yep, so that is that. And this is, by the way, one of the features from my book, Fantasy Flower Garden, but it can be found in 40 Fan Favorites, which is my new release of a sampler book with 5 drawings from each of my first 8 books in it. And there will be a volume 2 featuring 5 more drawings from each of these books. So there's 24 drawings in each book. There's 40 in this one. And so this is a very good deal. Okay. Now, this is the one that I've been working on with these Deli pencils. Now, if you're not familiar with the Deli brand, this it's basically a reasonably good Polychromos knockoff. The pencils look very much like a Polychromos. They feel very good. They're made of really good wood. They have, really vibrant colors. They sharpen beautifully. The only thing they don't have are names, color names. They have numbers. They are numbered sequentially in the box. I believe they start at number 101. Yep, they start at number 101 and they end at number 073. So, or 072, I guess. Or 172. Hello. There's 72 pencils. They end at 172. I'm pretty sure. Let's just double check and find out. The last pencil in the box is number 172. And it is the gold, the silver, the black. This is where this one goes. But I need it, so don't let it go in there. Oh, wait, no, I don't need that one. But I do need this one. Okay. And of course it comes in this lovely tin, which I like. I like to keep my pencils in the tin, but when I'm using them, I take them, whatever pencils I am using on a particular project, I take out and just put together with a rubber band. I use hair ties because I have hair ties. I don't have any rubber bands. But at any rate, so when I come right back, we will get started on coloring this. Hello and welcome back. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is zoom you down just a little bit and talk just a tad about what we've done so far. Now, this was a if you watched my previous video, you know that this was the very first drawing that I ever drew and released in my Etsy shop. It's really what started my whole drawing books for a living. And it appeared in the first iteration of my book, very first book, Flowers and Dreams. And then I redid it. It appeared originally as just a square mandala, or mandala. And then when I did the first anniversary edition of this book back in 2017, I put a new color cover on it, and I revamped the page to add the words, "Flowers always make me happy," to make it more of a full coloring page. So that is the history of the page. Then I was inspired by this particular drawing. I'll put it up on the screen now, or this particular coloring. It was done by one of my fans, Jamie Taylor, and she won a coloring contest with it, and I kept a copy of the picture, excuse me, for future reference. And so it was using her inspiration, or the feel of that, the sort of dark Victorian feeling of it, that I have chosen the colors for this. Now this, of course, is a variety of oranges. I'll go over in detail all of the colors that are used to make up all of the coloring and the how-tos for each of the flowers that's here in the center. And then I had left it with still this section to do, and then of course I was going to show you how to put in the background, and then there is this section which I left to be able to show you how I did this. So let's move down even further. And hopefully I am still in good focus. And I will show you that all that is, all I really did here was to, once again, start with a base layer. Doesn't matter exactly where you start. You can start anywhere, of a light color. And I do this to be able to preserve the overall lightness of the outside edges. So I'm only really having to color the outside edges. I'm really just doing it sort of roughly, not putting a lot of, detail or anything like that in. I realize that this is probably barely going to show up for you guys, but all it really does is put a little layer of wax and pigment down on the paper for the rest of the colors to slide around on. And we want them to be able to slide around and blend. And this is sort of drawn in the fashion of a pine cone. So we go from there. Then the next thing I do is I moved to a slightly darker shade of pink, which is the 121. Now in this particular set, the colors after the yellow tend to run dark being the lowest number and the lighter version of it being a higher number. And so all I'm doing is just, once again, in the same sort of pine cone fashion, on the outside of each of the petals, I am just putting down a layer of the pink. Now I do have a darker pink that I'm going to be using on top of it, but I don't want to overwhelm the page. And I'm using sort of medium pressure, and you know, the little scumbling circular mark or circular way. I'm not worrying about, you know, filling every space in exactly, leaving the little bit there under the leaves, because I'm going to put a dark shade in there, and I want it to be able to hold as much of the dark pencil as I can get it to. I would like to encourage you that if you like my channel, that you do like and subscribe to it. And if you hit the little bell, you will be notified of any videos that I do post. And if you'd like to follow me on social media, you can do that. If you have the CLAldridge Art name, all one word, then you can generally find me anywhere. I have taken pains to brand myself as CLAldridge Art on almost every platform, and to make me easy to find. So I am just going around the very outside of these top tier petals. Now I'm going to switch over to the lighter of two shades of blue. Now I chose blue. You could choose any color that you wanted. And I am going to first use the lighter blue. Actually, I'm not. I'm going to first use the darker of the two blues. And I am going to go very dark just in the sort of central places and working it out toward the edges of the petals. And notice I'm not being very fancy or, you know, picky about where I start, because once again, this is just a base layer, and I'm going to tweak it as we go along. I'm not bringing it out very far. This is the darkest. It's meant to be the shady spot underneath each of these petals. And I will finish this up and turn the camera right back on. Okay, and welcome back. All right, now I have the lighter blue shade, which this one was the 130, and this one is the 131. But when you hold them up side by side, you can see that this one, the 130, is slightly darker, and the 131 is slightly lighter. And so now I'm just going to bring the lighter shade using a slightly lighter hand and just sort of blend out some of that darker blue just a little bit further out on the edge of each petal. And I'm going to do that all the way around until I've got all of the petals done. And presto changeo, there it is. Okay, now I will pick up the darker of my pinks. So I've already used this one and this one. So now I've got this one, which is the darkest of the pinks. And just so I don't get lost, I will start here at the top. And just sort of go in. Now, I have tried in various iterations of this coloring to try to get this part as smooth as possible. But I found that really the best way is to just straight color with firm pressure and just sort of go over the whole thing all the way into the center. And then I'll end up having to add a little bit of the dark layer back in at the very corners or the very inside creases of each of these flowers. I'm really going, because these are fairly small spaces, so I'm more going for an effect. Which is of a stacked three-dimensional flower. Okay, and so I've done all of that. Now I've got my darkest blue in my hand again. And I'm just adding a second coat or a second little bit of contrast in there. Working it out just a little bit. That one got a little out of hand, so I'll just blend it out with the blue. Excuse me. Okay. And just sort of, just like that. Now, these are really, all I really did here is just straight color these using firm pressure. Whoops. Of course I had to do that, didn't I? So let's just erase that out. Just use the envelope here. Clean my eraser off. There we go. And neatness. Trying for neatness. Now, originally I was, blending this with the two layers of blue, but it ended up not really being necessary. This would probably be easier if I put a sharpen on this pencil. And these Delis, by the way, are budget price pencil. At the last time that I looked, they were $26 for a set of 72. Well worth it. Really well worth it. I would absolutely buy another set in a heartbeat. I like them that much. There are links to these pencils. Anytime I feature the Delis, I do put in a link below. It is my Amazon link. There are a lot of people now who have the Delis, and people are saying how much they really like them. So, a wonderful backup set if you just want to preserve the life of your polychromos by not using them all the time. These are a soft core oil-based pencil just like the polys. They blend beautifully, obviously. A lovely, deep, rich, saturated color. Smooth on any kind of paper. This is the Amazon CreateSpace paper, or not CreateSpace, but Kindle. As you can see, they don't leave any white residue, or there's no white spots. So they're obviously getting down into the tooth of the paper with very little effort. All in all, a really wonderful pencil. And of course, I don't use my Prismacolors in the summertime here in Virginia because it's just so warm that if you put any pressure at all on them, they snap. So, because they are a wax-based pencil. So the oil has a tendency to be a little bit of a harder core. Slightly, they're still soft core, but they're slightly harder. Okay, now, for the leaves, I do have 3 pencils. I have the darkest green, which is the 143, and it is the pencil that I use for the center stem. And then I also use it just slightly here, and that is to mark out a highlight on this leaf, so I know where I'm going to leave my lightest shades. And with the lightest of the greens here, which is the 149, I am just going to go ahead, and this is just exactly the same way that I've done all the other leaves on this piece, but I will demonstrate it here one more time. It's just slightly darker as I go, leaving a highlight. Of the lighter green right down both sides. Going to the darkest green for the edges. And once again, I'm layering, so I'm not pressing too hard. I'm just putting down light layers. Back to the yellow green. Reestablish that lightness there. Add in a little bit more of blending it. And going back to the medium green. Once again, pulling it in. Still leaving, doing a little bit of tweaking to that center highlight. And there's a center running down each of the two sides. So this leaf goes like, it's like, goes like this and then like this. Slightly darker on the very outside edges. And then I can blend it more all over in each section with the lightest green. Excuse me. Which blends all those shades together. And leaves that pretty highlight down the end. So I will go ahead and finish this leaf. Okay, and now both leaves are done. I am going to go ahead, and I noticed that my page is curling a little bit. I do, even though I'm using pencils, I do have a protective sheet under here. But I do sort of keep hitting the edge of my page. So I am going to add just to tack it down so that I don't keep rolling this edge as I am working. Okay, so the next step is the gold around the flower and this part. This is the number 155 pencil. It looks orange, but it's found down with the browns, and it is actually this very pretty gold color. And again, I am just straight coloring using a kind of a medium pressure. And just trying to make sure that I have all of the little white spaces around the flower filled in. So I will continue with this, and voila, once again, there we go. And just like magic. Now the next one is the 161 pencil, which is a reddish brown, and it is this color in here. I used it as the darkest shade out here at the ends, and so that is the next thing to fill in are these darkest areas. And I am being very heavy-handed and just straight coloring these in without blending. Now, the downside to straight coloring with an oil-based pencil is that it tends, with a highly pigmented oil-based pencil, is that it tends to make you know, I don't know if you can actually see that, but the, oops, there we go. See how it kind of, this page ahead of it that rests on top of it um, is a little dirty looking on the back. That is the residual of it rubbing up. It's two things really. The residual of it rubbing up against this, but more the fact that I have had this book rolled over like this for a long time as I've been working on that page, and it just occurred to me. I had originally thought it was because of this, but it's not. It's because it's been rolled over, and so it's been resting on my desk. So never mind. Never mind. Oops, all right. It's a heck of a thing. I'm thinking I'm saying something helpful and realizing that I'm wrong right at the same moment. At the angle that I color at with my camera, I get this glare off my lamp, so I turn the page to try and get rid of the glare. I apologize for that. Okay, so that completes that other corner. And so the next thing is the background. And for that, I am actually going to flip the page upside down because it is a little easier to work. Because this is a gradient, and gradients are not hard to do with pencils. You have to work at them, and it is a lot of light layers, but we're going to go for it just in 1 second. Hello everybody, and welcome back to take 2 on this. I'm not quite certain what happened, but I did a nice video section and wrapped it up and everything else on having done this part down here just in time for my computer to shut off unexpectedly. I do believe that it was updating, and it was that that sort of forced shutdown that Windows does when it updates. At any rate, I'm glad that I left this other little section here so I can actually, hopefully, keeping my fingers crossed this time, that it actually works. So, once again, in review, this is where we are. We are about to do a background, and I was just going to show you quickly how I did that. I just think it's so funny when, it's sad that I lost the footage, but it's sort of annoying, but otherwise funny. I mean, if you can't laugh at the little foibles of technology, it will make you cry, and you don't want it to do that. So what I'm doing here is I'm just putting in a sort of medium layer of what is the light that is behind all of these petals in this, and that is this gold, which is number 155 in the Deli pencils. And I'm really just sort of going around the pattern and bumping it out where just a little bit where there are protrusions. Because this is meant to look like the glow from underneath. Adding just a tiny bit of lighter out here toward the edges, toward the outer edges. Sounded like my cat running down the hallway. I'm guessing something moved under her feet and she got scared and ran. Okay, now then I move on to my medium brown, which is the 156. And once again, in light circular motions, really what I'm doing is just, doing a little bit of a blend, looking for a smooth gradient of colors. And this is just the first layer, so this is the widest part of the dark. It's over here. Just sort of adding in that next shade darker. And then I'll go with the darkest, which is the 157. Up into these corners and along this edge. And up close to this flower. And then the reason why, of course, I added the darkest shade out here is because that is theoretically the furthest away from whatever is causing this inner glow. And so that would be the darkest in there behind this flower. And I'm sure I even had an interesting topic that I was talking about in the past video. I think I was talking about, oh, I know what it was. I had actually did a little demonstration of something that I had seen over on Claire Holloway's channel, but I will wait and do an entire video about it later. So that way I don't have to tear it, because we'd gone down a rabbit trail is what we'd done, what I did. So now I am just adding in a second layer, once again sort of lightly and brightly, of the glow, the golden glow. Seems weird that you would find this glowy pencil down among the browns, but that's where it is. Okay, and then back to the medium brown for a second finishing type layer, or maybe not finishing, but, and this time I am actually working it just a little bit further down toward the gold, because I don't want that to be a huge glow. I just want it to be a very subtle glow. Plus, I guess having to redo it sort of forces me to finish the drawing. Finish the coloring. Maybe the universe said, oh, Christine, you were probably going to let that sit for another week or two before you finished it. And now I won't be able to do that. That's okay, that just makes room to start a new project. Or continue the project that I'm currently working on, which is drawing the new Dragons book. And if you have not seen my new Dragons book, the pictures that I've completed so far for it are in my Etsy shop. They are currently for sale, which is what I do. I put the drawings out in advance in my Etsy shop, and then by the time that it comes time to have colorings and things like that to select as features for the flip through video and the some of the features on the outside cover of my book, there are some beautifully colored choices that I get to pick from. And okay. So now that we kind of have that exactly where we want it, I can go ahead and do a little more darkening or a little more pressure with the colors and do the final finishing colors. So now, like, I'm making this dark brown, filling it in the areas how I really want it to be. Staying, lighter out toward the edge, but darker here underneath the flowers. And then the medium gray, or I keep wanting to call these grays. The medium brown. And of course, the using or darkening up these colors also serves to brighten up the golds and really highlight the glow. And still make it a nice smooth finish. Okay, oops. Scumble that in. Okay, one last layer of the pretty, excuse me, gold glow, just to even things out. And now I am going very, very lightly, really just barely skating over the colors. Whoops. That's good. That noise means somebody has favored a drawing in my Etsy shop. If it's followed by a cha-ching, that is even better. Summertime is notoriously hard for we artists because everybody is away on vacation. So, and hopefully they've got their favorite books and coloring supplies with them. Okay, and just trying to smooth that out. That's not bad. I could probably use one more layer. Just for good measure. Now, I'm not being particularly heavy, just sort of a medium, smooth it out layer. But now that I've mushed all of the pigments together, it does lay down just a little bit smoother. It's one of the things I like about these Deli pencils, is they really are very smooth. And once again, the medium brown. Just to sort of add a finishing and the gold. Very light with the gold. And there we go. That's it. And that is really all there is to coloring this particular piece. I do hope that you enjoyed seeing some of the techniques and the demonstration of these fabulous Deli pencils. I will be doing the lower flowers or the lower lettering pretty much in the same fashion that I did this upper lettering, just to lend cohesiveness to it. But overall, I am very, very pleased with how this particular coloring has turned out. And once again, this particular page was the very first coloring page that I ever drew. I put it out in just the square form in the first edition of my book, Flowers and Dreams. Then when I redid this book in 2017, I expanded it out to the, made it kind of bigger, and then expanded out the lettering, or added the lettering to make it into a full-size coloring page. And it was very popular, has been very popular with the lettering. Flowers always make me happy, and they always do. Thank you for joining me today, and until we meet again, please color something pretty. Bye, everybody.